The fire pops slow beside the cabin wall, and the coffee in the mug warms the hands before the bones. Out here, it feels like a safe zone. But brothers know the truth. Leaving the battlefield does not mean the war ends. Sometimes the silence is worse than gunfire, because silence lets the past move around without footsteps. Then the breach comes, not with a kick of the door, but with something smaller, uglier. A grocery store on Carson Street, a winter line, a card reader flashing "declined" twice while strangers laugh like wolves. So listen, brother. When the crowd corners a man, when pride is bleeding in public, do you run or do you hold the line? Because Jack Mercer, a 40-year-old former Navy SEAL with a stiff left knee, stood there in a Navy coat with Ranger, a black and tan German shepherd, watching every face. And an 8-year-old girl named Mia stepped forward with crumpled bills, right as a black car started circling the neighborhood. Sit down. Stay close. This one has a lesson worth surviving. A soldier who hates being pitied. His name was Jack Mercer. Jack had been a Navy SEAL. He was out now. He didn't like talking about war, and he didn't like being called a hero. He lived alone in Pittsburgh and worked shifts at an industrial repair shop. He got by, not comfortably, not badly, and he tried to keep everything in his life under one rule: handle it himself. The dog's name was Ranger. Jack didn't call him a savior or a partner. Jack only said, "Ranger helps keep order." What Jack didn't say was that Ranger also kept him steady through long nights, through memories that sounded like metal clanging in darkness, through the feeling that he didn't belong anywhere anymore. Jack wasn't in the grocery store for himself. In the apartment downstairs, an elderly widow named Marjorie had the flu and was out of medicine. Jack had promised he would bring it up soon, so when his card was declined, Jack felt heat rise in his face. Not because he was embarrassed for himself, but because he was about to break a promise. He reached into his Navy coat for cash. Not enough. The cashier, Kara, crossed her arms. "If you can't pay, leave the cart. Don't waste my time." Someone behind him laughed out loud. "He looks like he can fight, but he can't manage his money." Jack looked up. His dark eyes softened for a split second, then turned cold. Not the look of a man looking for a fight. The look of a man who hates injustice and hates making a scene even more. Ranger stood tight against Jack's leg, ears up. One signal and the dog would step forward. But Jack didn't signal. Jack only breathed slowly. Jack spoke quietly, polite. "I'm sorry. I'll put a few things back." Kara shrugged. "Put it all back." That was when the little girl walked over from the lane across the aisle. She placed a handful of coins and 2 crumpled bills on the counter. Her voice was small but clear. "Sir, take mine. I can still eat. Your grandma probably needs the medicine." Everything froze. Jack stared. A man who had faced terrifying things didn't know what to do with the kindness of a child. Jack bent down to her level. "What's your name?" "Mia," she said. "Mia Harper." Jack looked at the money. It wasn't much, but it felt heavy, like a lesson. He shook his head. "I can't take your money." Mia pressed her lips together. "Take it. I don't want anyone laughing at you." Someone cleared their throat. Someone looked away. And for the first time, Kara didn't laugh. Jack swallowed, like he was swallowing his pride. "I'll pay you back. I promise." Mia nodded, as if the promise of a stranger was more reliable than the promises adults made every day. Jack paid by combining Mia's coins with what he had left, returning the cheapest items meant for himself, and keeping Marjorie's cold medicine and a small bag of groceries. He took the bag and turned to Kara. "Thank you." Kara answered sharply, "Yeah." But her voice had changed, quieter, like someone had held a mirror up to her face. Jack walked out. Ranger stayed at his side, silent. When they stepped into the winter wind, Jack heard someone behind him whisper, "That kid, she's really something." Jack didn't turn around. He only looked once through the glass. Mia stood there, holding her thin coat close, watching Jack like she was looking at something bigger than money. A decline that didn't feel normal. That night, Jack brought the medicine down to Marjorie. She thanked him repeatedly, then suddenly studied his face. "Son," she said, "your eyes look heavy today. Something happen?" Jack only replied, "Card trouble." Marjorie let out a small laugh. "Card trouble is card trouble. You're still walking. You're still breathing. I'm the one who should worry." Jack almost smiled, but the word "declined" still felt stuck in his mouth. He checked his account. His paycheck had hit yesterday. There was no reason he should be short. Jack called the bank. The representative told him there was a suspicious transaction, an online withdrawal in another state. Jack didn't curse. He just went quiet for a few seconds. The kind of quiet a man learns after years of bad news. The bank said it would take 3 to 5 business days to resolve. 3 to 5 days is a long time when someone needs medicine, and when your pride is thinner than a child's winter coat. The next morning, Jack put on the same outfit again. Navy coat, red and black flannel, faded jeans, brown boots, and went back to the grocery store. Not to start trouble. He wanted to find Mia and repay her. Ranger walked beside him, eyes always moving. Jack asked the security guard near the entrance. The guard shook his head. "That kid comes in with her mom. Probably lives over in Riverside." Jack followed the directions, crossing streets lined with old brick homes and gray snow on the steps. Ranger suddenly stopped. His ears lifted higher. His eyes locked on a black car parked too long in front of a small house. The car wasn't moving, but someone was inside. Jack kept walking slowly, careful not to show he noticed. The old injury in his left knee made his stride stiff, but that stiffness made him look like a man you couldn't easily push around. Jack knocked on the door. A woman in her early 30s opened it, tired but clean, wearing an old sweater. Her hands had flour on them, like she'd been cooking. "Yes?" Jack lowered his voice. "I'm Jack Mercer. Yesterday, at the store, your daughter helped me." The woman glanced back as if checking whether Mia could hear, then stepped aside and invited him in. Her name was Elena Harper. She worked as a care aide at a nursing home. Night shifts, low pay, behind on the heating bill. Mia sat in the corner. When she saw Jack, her eyes lit up. "Sir!" Jack pulled an envelope from his pocket. Inside was twice what Mia had given, plus a small note. He placed it on the table. "I'm paying you back, and thank you." Mia didn't grab it right away. She looked up at Jack. "Are you okay?" Jack let out a light laugh, the first in 2 days. "I'm okay. The card just had problems." Elena spoke softly. "That store. Lately, a lot of people have had issues. My card got hit once too." Jack looked up. Ranger let out a quiet breath through his nose, like a warning that something was off. Outside the window, the black car was still there. Jack looked at Elena. "Have you seen that car before?" Elena hesitated, then nodded. Yes, for weeks. I thought it was someone I owed. Jack didn't say, "I'll handle it." He only said one sentence, hard as a nail. "I'm going to find out what's going on." Mia smiled. "You look like someone from a movie, but you don't talk a lot." Jack frowned slightly. "Talking a lot is exhausting." Mia giggled. The sound was small, but it warmed the room more than the old heater ever could. Jack stood. "I'm going. Ranger, let's go." Ranger looked at Mia for a moment, then followed Jack. Before the door closed, Elena said, "Thank you for coming back. Most adults take what they can and disappear." Jack turned, his dark eyes softening. "Don't worry. I don't like owing people." But Jack didn't say the whole truth. Jack didn't just hate debt. Jack couldn't stand injustice clinging to people like Elena and Mia. The dirty trick in the scanner. Jack returned to the grocery store during the busiest hour, not to play hero, to watch. He stood near the canned goods, pretending to read labels. Ranger lay beside the shelf, eyes open. People walking past assumed the dog was gentle, but Ranger watched footsteps like he was counting them. Jack saw Kara at the register, but her eyes weren't triumphant like before. She avoided looking at him. Then another man appeared, Darren Klein, the assistant manager. Hair slicked back, white dress shirt, a smile smooth as oil. Darren walked the lanes, tapped the terminals, said a few quiet words to the cashiers. Jack saw a young cashier discreetly pull a small plastic piece from a drawer and clip it onto the card reader. Jack recognized it immediately. Jack had seen hidden devices during internal investigations connected to his old unit. It wasn't his specialty, but he could smell a scam the way some people smell smoke. Jack stepped into line like an ordinary customer. When it was his turn, he placed one cheap item on the belt. Kara swiped his card. Jack used the same one from yesterday on purpose. Kara looked at the screen. Her eye twitched slightly. Jack met her gaze. "Is something wrong?" Kara shook her head fast. "No, today it's fine." Jack paid, but he'd seen enough. The way Kara looked at Darren like he owned her, and the way Darren watched the lanes like he controlled people's breathing. Outside, Jack called the bank again, then the fraud hotline. They asked for proof. Proof. Jack understood. Wrongdoing loves to hide behind that word. Jack looked at Ranger. Tonight. Ranger blinked as if he understood. That night, Jack waited in the store parking lot, hidden behind a delivery truck. Snow fell lightly. Ranger sat still, spine straight, ears up. Darren came out the back door, opened it, dragged out a small box. Under the yellow light, Jack saw Darren hand the box to someone sitting in the black car. Jack didn't rush. He filmed. Slow. Clean. No panic. Then Ranger's ears snapped up hard. A shadow moved behind Jack. Jack turned just in time. A large man in a hoodie stepped closer, voice low. "You lost?" Jack didn't back up. His stride might be stiff from his knee, but his shoulders were not. Those shoulders had carried heavier things than a man in a hoodie. Jack spoke calmly. "Waiting on family." The man glanced at Ranger. Ranger didn't growl. He just looked. That look slowed the man down. "Your dog. Looks like he knows something," the man said, forcing a laugh. Jack tilted his head slightly. "He knows who shouldn't stand too close." The man muttered a curse and backed away. But before he left, he said, "Best not to get curious." Jack watched him, voice even. Curious is what I'm best at when someone hurts the weak. The man climbed into the black car. It drove off. Jack stared at his phone screen. The footage was clear. He had stepped into a game where they didn't want outsiders. And now he knew. They had seen him. Mia vanished on a snowy afternoon. 2 days later, Elena called Jack. Her voice shook. Jack, Mia isn't home. Jack stood up so fast his left knee flared with pain. But he didn't slow down. He asked fast, each question clean and sharp. Where did you see her last? Elena choked out. She walked home from school like always. I was at work. A neighbor saw her at the corner, near the store. Jack understood immediately. He didn't say, I'm scared. He only said, stay home, lock the door, I'm coming. Jack reached the school area and followed Mia's usual route. Ranger ran beside him, not pulling, not lunging, only accelerating when Jack needed it. In the snow near the corner, Ranger stopped, lowered his nose, ears up. Ranger looked toward an alley. Jack stepped into the alley and saw a small glove near a trash bin. A purple glove. Jack's chest tightened. He called the police. They said they needed time and details. That answer hit Jack the same way 3 to 5 business days had hit him. Jack didn't wait. He returned to the back lot behind the store. The storage lights were on. Darren was there. And the black car was there again. Jack crouched behind a concrete pillar with Ranger close. Did Jack see Mia inside the car? He couldn't be sure, but he saw a child's backpack on the back seat. Jack stepped forward. No running, no shouting. He moved like a wall that could walk. A man stepped out to block him. The same hoodie. You've got a lot of free time, the man sneered. Jack stared straight at him. Give the girl back. The man laughed. What girl? Ranger stood up. No barking, just standing. That posture made the hoodie man swallow. Jack raised his phone. I have video, devices, license plates. I sent everything. It was a lie. Jack hadn't sent everything yet, but it was the kind of lie a man uses only when a child needs saving. The hoodie man hesitated, eyes flicking to the car. The car door opened. Darren stepped out, hands in pockets, smiling like a man who believed he controlled the world. Mercer, Darren said like they were old friends. I heard you've been asking questions. Jack didn't answer. He asked again. Where is Mia? Darren tilted his head. You really care about that kid. Jack took one more step. I care about the weak. You care about money. Darren laughed. Money keeps this city running. You think kindness buys heat in winter? Jack's dark eyes sharpened. No, but kindness keeps people from doing dirty things. Darren shrugged. You're ex-military. You should understand. The weak get used. That sentence chilled Jack. Not because Darren was right, but because Darren said it like he was talking about the weather. Jack breathed slowly. I understand, and I hate it. Ranger took a half step forward, staring at the storage door, like he knew someone was inside. Jack decided. He wasn't going to fight. He wasn't going to hurt anyone. He was going to do it another way. Jack shouted, "The police are coming!" Darren flinched for half a second. The hoodie man flinched too. Inside the storage area, something shifted. Jack didn't know if police were actually close, but Darren didn't know either. Darren turned his head for 1 single second. 1 second was all Jack needed. Jack surged forward and yanked the storage door open. Inside, Mia sat curled on a plastic chair, pale, eyes red, but unharmed. Her arms locked around her backpack. When Mia saw Jack, she broke into tears, like she had been holding herself together only to last until he arrived. Jack dropped to his knees, voice low. "I'm here." Mia sobbed. Don't take my money anymore." Jack swallowed hard. "I won't. I'm only taking you home." Ranger moved in, silently standing between Mia and the doorway, eyes fixed outward. Outside, Darren cursed. Footsteps ran. A car engine started. Jack lifted Mia in his arms. His left knee screamed, but he didn't let go. He stepped out of the storage area just as police sirens began to wail at the edge of the lot. This time, the police were real. Jack looked up into the falling snow, not to thank fate, just one thought. In time. The richest thing isn't in your pocket. Darren was arrested along with several others. The card-skimming operation was exposed, along with the intimidation they used to keep victims quiet. Police found more victims in the neighborhood. The mysterious missing money wasn't just rumors anymore. Kara, the cashier, came to Jack afterward. Her eyes were swollen like she'd been crying for hours. I knew what they were doing," Kara admitted. "I was scared. I needed the job." Jack didn't yell. He didn't lecture. He just looked at her. Fear is normal, but silence makes other people pay. Kara nodded. She agreed to testify. Elena held Mia and cried and laughed at the same time, like she had only allowed herself to breathe for the first time in her life. A week later, Jack brought a bag of supplies upstairs to Marjorie. The old woman looked at him and smiled for real. "Son," she asked, "what did you learn?" Jack paused. He looked down at his brown boots, then at Ranger. Jack said, "I learned, holding everything alone isn't always strength." Marjorie nodded. "That's right. People confuse strength with silence." Jack left. On the way home, he stopped by Elena's place. Not as a savior, just as a neighbor. Mia ran out holding a drawing. A tall man in a navy coat standing beside a dog with upright ears. Across the top in messy handwriting, Jack plus Ranger. Mia said, "See? Ranger's name is on it too." Jack laughed, rough but real. "Ranger will be proud, but he can't read." Mia turned serious. "I'll read it to him." Elena stood behind Mia, looking at Jack like she was seeing someone come back from somewhere far away. Jack didn't say much. He set a bag on the table, medicine for Elena, food, and a thicker winter coat for Mia. Elena started to refuse. Jack raised his hand. "This time, let me pay my debt." Elena froze. Mia looked at her mother and whispered, "Mom, when someone helps us, we accept it. Then we help someone else." Elena broke down. Jack looked at Mia, his dark eyes softening. "You talk like a grown-up." Mia smiled. "I just don't want anyone laughing anymore." Jack understood. In one small grocery store, a child had done what adults forgot to do. Jack walked home, Ranger at his side. In Pittsburgh's cold, Jack still wore the same navy coat, the same red and black flannel, the same faded jeans, the same brown boots. But inside, he wasn't as cold as before. Not because the world had suddenly become kind, because Jack had chosen not to stand aside anymore. And sometimes, A city doesn't change because of a billionaire. Sometimes it changes because a veteran kneels to a child's height, and because a child offers a handful of coins like a reminder. The richest thing is compassion. If this story touched you, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little warmth this winter. And I want to ask you one question in the comments. If you had been standing in that line, what would you have done? Some stories do not look like miracles at first. They look like a cold day, a long line, and a screen that flashes declined. But sometimes God hides a turning point inside the smallest moment, the kind the world laughs at. Jack walked into that store carrying a simple promise, medicine for a neighbor, a quiet burden he did not want anyone to see. And when everything went wrong, it was not power that rescued him. It was a child's courage, a handful of coins, a soft voice that refused to join the crowd. That is how faith often shows up in everyday life, not with thunder, not with perfect timing, but with one heart choosing kindness when it would be easier to look away. Maybe Mia's gift was not just money. Maybe it was a reminder that God still moves through ordinary people, through small hands, through the brave decision to do what is right. So here is the question for the day-to-day life we all live. When you see someone being pushed down, will you become part of the noise? Or will you become the quiet help that changes the room? If this story touched you, please share it to spread kindness. Comment below and tell us about a miracle in your life. And don't forget to subscribe so more stories like this can reach people who need hope. May God bless you and your family, and may His peace walk with you this week.